Good morning, my beautiful viewers. And usually, I don't like to talk about the Oba of Benin, the Sultan, in the recent times because the last time I talked about this, I got attacked. But you see, when we keep quiet, nonsense will continue to fester. With the indigenization bill that is going on, because there's been so many clackbacks, so many resistance towards this. It seems people are not paying attention about the traditional rulers. Uh, in a surprising turnaround, the Sultan of Sokoto has been made the permanent chairman of the traditional rulers. So quickly, we almost understand that the Sultan of Sokoto historically has no part or presence in this country. How is it possible that the Sultan of Sokoto will be sitting on the chair of chairmanship ahead of the Oba of Benin? How is it possible that the Sultan of Sokoto will be sitting at the table of the chairmanship ahead of the Atto of Igala? I mean, these are people who are historically domiciled within the Nigerian territory, or should I say the Nigerian contraption. So you see, um, the last time I talked about this, I said Peter Obi was attacked in Benin, right? But the reaction that we got from the traditional rulers, for me, wasn't encouraging. I remember how the traditional rulers swayed in, how they interceded to at least beg the North when the 16 Iromi incident happened, right? So you can see that our traditional rulers have been undermined, they have been suppressed stealthily, stylishly. Okay, you see what the North will always do is they will look for the saboteurs in the South. And for me, placing Ooni of Ife alongside the Sultan of Sokoto is even more of an insult for me. Because when you're talking about chairmanship, the Sultan of Sokoto, is he a traditional ruler or a religious ruler? Let that be clear. Because in Nigeria, the Sultan of Sokoto cannot occupy two positions. And these are two important and vital positions which has to do with our national cohesion. First and foremost, when you look at the Islamic affairs, there is a constitution that has permanently appointed a Fulani man. It is explicitly written there that the chairman permanently would be a Fulani sultan. So it doesn't matter how religiously you are, whether you're a Muslim, as long as you are not a Fulani man, you can never become the sultan. That's one thing they've said because it's only the sultan that can be the what the chief of Muslims, or should I say the supreme leader of Muslims. That's one. Now, but again, in traditional rulers, all right, the same sultan sits conveniently, and they needed to put the Oni side by side with him so that at least the south will be divided in that instance. When the Obi of Onitsha is complaining, okay, the Obi of Onitsha, Oba of Benin, these are kings that predate the very existence of Nigeria because we all know how powerful and how magnificent the Benin kingdom was, right? In fact, Alaafin of Oyo, we know how the Oyo Empire became, how powerful and mighty was. So Alaafin of Oyo not on that table, for me, is an affront. I'm going to be reading some communiques, okay? Because this is how they continue to suppress us. And we know how influential these traditional rulers or leaders are. We know how the political aspirants, okay, how they will go and bow for these leaders. In most instances, these leaders they feign neutrality, but it's all lies. We all know because when Abiola got raped, let me tell you that story. If truly these traditional rulers are men or are true leaders who want justice to be served, because why you are a king is simple. You are made a king to ensure there's justice, there's fairness, and there's equity. All right. So when Abiola was rigged in 1993, Abiola, who was the Area Onokanko of the Yoruba Kingdom, and he was, I think, he was a deputy to the Sultan, the supreme. their Islamic, because Abiola did everything to just impress the North and their Islamic agenda. Abiola threw some Gideon Bibles, we're told that he fell some containers into the sea, that every plan to Christianize the nation will not happen under him. So, sometimes when I look at this, I sort of thank God that thank God Abiola didn't even become the president, perhaps he would have been the one that would totally Islamize the country. Because those were the agendas that he carried out, reportedly. So, you see, when he was read, he ran to the Sultan then with tears in his eyes, kata falling through his nose. And he met him. He said, "Listen, your son, Abacha, has just done this, done that." And the Sultan came out and told him, "Well, there's absolutely nothing I can do. I do not have a say. I cannot speak. He's the head of the state, and I dare not talk." So Abiola was heartbroken. And we know what precedes that. We know what actually ended, how Abiola ended. We know. But fast forward to 2010, 11, that Sultan seat began to speak against Jonathan's regime. And we know the political weight that gave to Buhari. Because it seems like the Sultan was behind Buhari. How? Let me explain. As at that time, Jonathan hired mercenaries because the Boko Haram were loud. They were pushing for Islamic radicalism. They were pushing for Islamization agenda. At that time, the Sultan, who is the supreme leader of Islamic affairs in Nigeria, the Sultan, who apparently is the traditional ruler of the North, of the collective North, excluding the Middle Belt, okay, he never came out to speak against those that were saying that the Boko Haram should hold sway. Indeed, what we're seeing was an attack against the Boko Harams, which are seemingly the Northern Freedom Fighters, is an attack against the Fulanese. Then we saw what Buhari said. Okay? Because yes, the Sultan then and Buhari's agenda aligned. And it has always aligned. And it's always aligned. Okay? So you will see that when things that concerns our traditional rulers are brought to the fore, we need to tinker with them. We need to talk about them. We need to ask questions. You see this agenda that they are passing, whereby they are using, because for me, I'm not happy. I am not from Osun State. When Oyo State was Oyo, right? When it was in its highest of, audacity, right? In those olden glory days, the Ooni of Ife was silent. He was silent. Yes, we respected the Ooni of Ife because we gave that seat, that respect because of its spirituality, not because of in terms of conquests. The Sultan of Sokoto was built on the basis and on the premise of conquest. The first Sultan was Uthman Dan Fodio, and he conquered the north. He conquered the Kanawas. He conquered the Kanos people, the Hausa people, toppled all the kingdoms. When the same Sultan wanted to conquer Ilorin, right, which they did to some extent, it was the Alaafin of Oyo that went in there to chase them back. They wanted to get into Ogbomoso, chase them back. When they wanted to even invade some parts of Lagos from the Dahomey, those people of Benin, the Alaafin of Oyo was the one who took it upon himself to protect the Yoruba kingdom and everything. Shall we talk about the Benin kingdom? The Benin kingdom was so powerful that they held some parts of old Ebonyi and Enugu, some parts of Igala were under them. In fact, the Benin kingdom, some parts of Ondo, Ekiti, were paying obeisance to the Oba of Benin. So how come these two kings, the Oba of Benin, The Alafia for you, which we know were historically powerful because they conquered, because they held territories by force, right? And have always been, an aborigines of where they were. They didn't migrate, they were there. The whites came, they met them there. When the Portuguese initially came, the Fulanese were not in the north. Then it was still the Kano, the Hausa kingdom. So you see, this systematic suppression of other culture and heritage for the North to hold sway, and somehow they find a way to bring in the Yoruba to sort of, to douse the tension, because they know who will be the one that will probably sit on the table. Because we know the man on the table who is calling the shot is the Sultan, not the Ooni of Ife. We know. We know this. Because the Ooni of Ife does not have what we call double powers. It doesn't. The Sultan has double powers. Am I here to denigrate the Sultan? Am I here to destroy the person? No, 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 no. I am only here to analyze that when we are in a country that prides itself as a unity in diversity, then every of our policies must translate and must display equality and inclusivity. You see, I'll begin to read a letter that was written by the Niger Deltans, because it saddens me when these things happen and we in the south most times might be silent. I am happy because the Niger Delta people are speaking for their king, okay, which includes the Shekiri king, okay, the Oba of Shekiri, the Oba of Benin, and also we see these people of the southeast also speaking that no, also the middle belters, they've released a communique, so you can see on my screen over there, dated 28th of July, statement by the Niger Delta Congress condemning the bill designating the Sultan of Sokoto and Ooni of Ife as the permanent chairman. It is an affront, indeed, it is an affront. The Niger Delta vehemently condemns the recent bill proposing the designation of the Sultan of Sokoto and Ooni of Ife as a permanent chairman and co-chairman, respectively, of the national chairman of the traditional rulers in Nigeria. This bill represents a flagrant assault on the principles of equality, of equity, inclusivity, federal character that forms the bedrock of Nigeria's diverse and pluralistic society. You see, we always deceive ourselves in this hypocrisy that Nigeria is a nation. Nigeria is not a nation. Eventually we will scatter. Let me continue to read. The Niger Delta Congress views this legislation as a deliberate attempt to entrench a lopsided power structure that marginalizes and undermines the rich cultural heritage and traditional institutions of other regions, particularly the Niger Delta. The imposition of permanent leadership roles for specific traditional rulers disregards the diversity of Nigeria's ethnic groups and their revered traditional institutions, which have historically played critical roles in fostering peace, unity, and development. We find it utterly acceptable that such a bill, which promotes regional bias and exclusivity, could be contemplated in a nation that prides itself on on unity in diversity. It's a lie. Unity in diversity is a lie. The Constitution does not. The Constitution protects the interests of the North. The Constitution protects Sharia that is led by the Sultan. So you have to understand. Until people like this, eh? I've always cried out that until people like the Oba of Benin, the Ooni of Ife, the Oba of Onitsha, the Otha of Igala, all of them, until they begin to say that we must return to our original system of governance, I will not take anybody serious. The Niger Delta Congress, and this is the last paragraph, demands the immediate withdrawal or reversal of this bill and calls for a broad-based consultation. You see, these people are not serious. You still want to have a receipt. In this letter, you should just simply call for the complete reversal annulment, and it should just seek for your demand. Go straight. That the chairmanship should be a 2-year base and it should be rotated among the 6 geopolitical zones. Period. The Sultan is made the chairman for 2 years. The next 2 years, a new chairman will be elected or it will be rotated. Simple and short. Because something like this would give what we call ethnic supremacy. And this is what brings tension. And this is why I said that there's tension that is looming. If care is not taken, this will lead to anarchy. Thank you.
What happened has happened, and it's there written. You can't come and be through social media. But that's one terrorist organization, social media. Social media is a terrorist organization. What they do, what they put somebody in his comfort room and formulate stories, and you will see whether it's true. So, social media is a terrorist organization that we must deal with. Security agencies must deal with this terrorist organization called social media. So we're not happy with what's been happening either on the plateau or other places.
If you are giving money to northern governors, I want to advise you to please keep your money and stop giving it to them, because they are not succeeding in convincing northerners that you are competent and you have any plan for the north. Of course, you don't have any plan for the north. You went to Kano, you told Kano people that you went there to dance. The whole of Kano, the most densely populated state in the whole of Africa, you are telling them you just go there to dance. You don't have any plan for them. So we are not comfortable with you. You went to Bauchi, you only danced. You couldn't speak up your mind. You couldn't express yourself. You couldn't point out your plan for them. You couldn't even bring any policy, plan, blueprint. You don't have anything for us. We are not going to vote for you. So these governors are not succeeding in convincing northerners to vote for you. Even though you have picked up a Muslim as your running mate, even if you are to pick our most respected Muslim personality, somebody of, permit me to say, His Royal Highness our Father, Sultan of Sokoto, even if you are to pick him, I know he's not going to accept being your running mate, he's too big for that. Even if you pick somebody of that caliber, we are still not going to vote for you. Because we don't believe in it.
That's all for